Hey guys, what's going on? This is your old pal CHH. Come on in, have a seat. I want to talk to you guys. This is a video that's just going to be kind of podcast style. I'm going to talk to you guys about A Nightmare on Elm Street today, right? It's always good when we get to talk A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's especially good when we get to talk about physical media. But I don't want to bring the room down, but you know, lately I've been getting a lot of people messages from people, and they've been asking me about basically what can we expect from the sequels on A Nightmare on Elm Street when it comes to physical media. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what I actually think we can expect, but I want to talk about the possibilities, and it's always good to put this out there into the ether and to talk about this, because you never know who's listening and who's watching. So that's why I wanted to do this. So let's not take away from the excitement of Part 1. We have a standard 4K release of Part 1, which has the classic artwork from like 1999 on the special edition VHS and DVDs. More so the DVD, I think. We also have the Steelbook, which is going for a vintage VHS look. And we also have the overseas release, which has, you know, the really cool hard box and everything, which looks like the original movie poster. So that's great. And that's what I ordered. I think I know this movie's also going to be uncut, which is exciting. How much more new footage are we going to have? How comprehensive is this going to be? I don't know. Time will tell. Time is going to tell on this, and I'm excited to see it just the same way you guys are, you know? I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be a great release. This should be coming in 31 days now. You know, this should be coming at the beginning of October, hopefully sooner. So I think everybody's super excited about that. And maybe a few weeks ago, I was getting some messages after there was an announcement from some people. I say announcement. There were some posts from some online people talking about, you know, the sequels are coming and parts 5 and like 4 are going to be uncut. So let's talk about that for a second. One movie that could definitely come uncut, and hopefully it does, is A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, because that was a movie that has had uncut versions released in the past. On the VHS release. And I always tell people, if you can watch Part 5 uncut, please do. I think it'll raise your rating of the movie up a full point. I really do, because the work that was done in Part 5 is sensational. I understand it's a rushed movie, but, you know, I think when you watch a movie like that, a Part 5 of a legendary series done literally in probably like 9 months and change, you'd be impressed by it. And the special effects work is incredible, especially Dan's motorbike scene where he turns into like mechanics, like he's a part of the bike, and they have these huge rods that go into the back of his calf, and you see them traveling through his leg. It's brutal stuff, guys. I mean, it really is. I think you'll really get a kick out of that. So let's talk about that, because I was getting a lot of messages about that. I kind of briefed on this a little bit, but I didn't really report on it. The fact of the matter is, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up about that and say like, oh, it's coming. Now, there's two things about that. Number one, you know, we don't know nothing for sure till we know for sure, right? When they come out and announce it. But on the second side, the flip side of that, or I'll be honest, like the person that I think most people really like to look at is like Dawn of the Discs for this. Typically when he, or whoever that is, because I don't know who that is, posts something, you can tell they've got the Scream Factory listing somehow, or they got the listing from a press screener or a private thing, because you can just tell when something looks official, right? And there are others out there that do a good job with this as well. But I think Dawn of the Discs is the person that a lot of people will look at and they'll say, okay, if he posts it, I'm going to be pretty curious, or I'm going to start paying attention. But again, there's others. I'm not trying to curry favor with Dawn of the Discs or anything. But my point is, there were rumblings about the sequels being announced on 4K. And I think most of us were like, well, I'm sure they're probably going to do the sequels, especially because they're going to see how much of a seller Part 1 is. But I wanted to talk about what I think is probably going to happen, right? I'm going to give you guys the realistic look at what they're going to do, and I'm going to tell you the options and what I hope they do. The first thing I want to talk about is Scream Factory. A lot of people keep saying, oh, the Scream Factory going to do a Blu-ray box set of this still. Maybe they can do it. If Warner Brothers is doing 4K, maybe Warner Brothers are going to let Scream Factory do a Blu-ray box set. Obviously, I can't say that that's impossible to happen, but I would probably be willing to bet my movie collection that it wouldn't. I'm not going to, because I don't want nobody to be watching this and say, oh, he said he'd do it. I think most of you can agree that sounds extremely unlikely. You know, I interviewed Cliff McMillan. I straight up asked him about that, and he said Warner Brothers New Line. If I say Warner Brothers, I mean New Line, or if I say New Line, I mean Warner Brothers. They're the same now, right? But I'll try to say the same one throughout this video. Warner Brothers essentially told them, or they did tell them, no, we're not interested in licensing out those movies right now. This is an active franchise, and we're going to do things ourselves. That's what they were told. Has Scream Factory ever publicly come out and said that? Maybe, maybe not. But we heard it from Cliff himself. Cliff tried for a long time. Cliff worked with Warner Brothers on getting titles from them, and he was pretty good at, figuring out how to license it from them and convincing them why they should let them do it, that sort of thing. But he said they could never, ever do it. I also cleared up a rumor that I heard that they were supposedly working on a box set at one point, and I had it under pretty good authority. I felt that that was true, but I asked Cliff about that. I said, was there actually a time where you guys were working on a box set? And all of a sudden Warner Brothers said no. He says, not even a chance. Not even for a day. We never had it. We never potentially had it. It was no every time I ever went to him and asked about it. So there's that. So Scream Factory has never had the opportunity to do it. So let's just not even think about that at this point. Let's pretend there's no Scream Factory box set that's going to come. This is what I think is going to happen, okay? This is just realistic what I think is going to happen. What they might do is what they've done in the past. Now, if you're not sure of what they've done in the past, the brightest side, this is the brightest situation we can have, is a box set that is representative of what they did in 1999. That classic DVD box set. New Line proved they can do it. And if we have people that are still at the helm that remember those days working there and might want to do something in that vein, that would be great. Now, whether the movies will actually come out uncut, like Parts 5, for instance, I don't know. That's hard to say. That would be great. But what I think is really going to happen, guys, is this. One of two things. In the past, when they were putting out the Elm Street films on high definition, Blu-ray, which I think is a good marker for what they're going to do, they were doing Blu-ray releases of these movies 2 at a time. There's a Blu-ray pack that I have for parts 2 and 3 together. And there's a big chance what they might do is release a 4K release of Freddy's Revenge and Dream Warriors together on a standard case and everything, and put the two movies together and throw that out there. That's something we might see sometime next year in the beginning quarter. It might even be later than that, unfortunately. I don't know if they're going to try to... Maybe they'll look at the release date for Freddy's Revenge and try. I think Freddy's Revenge came out sometimes in 85. I don't believe it was 86. I do believe it was 85. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But I can see them doing that as opposed to throwing out one movie at a time. And the reason I say that is because, I think once they see... You could say, well, Christian, they waited so long to put out part 1, and you're right. But what I think maybe the way that they think about this at this point is once they see how big part 1's going to sell, and God knows part 1 is going to sell like crazy. It just is. Once they see how well part 1 sells, they're probably going to want to get these movies out quicker, and I think that they're going to do a double pack of 2 and 3. I don't like it, but I think that's probably what they're going to do. The next thing I think would happen after that is maybe later at the latter half of the year or sometime next year, they'll do the same thing for parts 4 and 5 together. And then after that, they could do something nice and separate for New Nightmare. I feel like to them, New Nightmare is a movie that would probably suffice as individual release. And so be it, That could be something that they do. But there's other ways they could go about this too, under two circumstances. They could do what I just described first, putting out a double 4K pack of 2 and 3, and then later on doing a double 4K pack of 4 and 5, with the potential that part 5 and maybe even part 4 or even part 3, I don't know, will be uncut. And after they did that, they could put out something like this, which is the way the history has repeated itself with the Elm Street films. This was a DVD box set that came out from A Nightmare on Elm Street that features the 8 films, 1 through New Nightmare, including Freddy vs. Jason. They could do something like this in a case like this. I got this like in 2010, 2008, and it's got all the movies in here. They very well could put out a 4K box set later that is identical to this. Meaning it'll look exactly like this, except it's going to say 4K Ultra HD on the top of the case as well as on the front of this. And I hope you guys like this, because my money says they very well could replicate this exact box set, and just make them 4K and have this header up here. There's also a chance they could be working on these right now, and they'll put out a box set of all these movies together in 4K. And the reason I say I hope you like this art, they're going to do this, is because look at what they did for part 1. They put out the 4K standard with the artwork that they did for the DVD back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I think history is going to repeat itself in a big way, and these releases are going to look like the releases of yesteryear. That may not be what people want to hear, and I'd love to be wrong, but I think if you look at this, I almost say get used to the look of this box set. If you have it, it's going to be a 4K box set that looks identical to this. Maybe even to a T. When I was looking at this the other day, or yesterday, when I was putting my rotating shelf together, I was like, you know what? This is probably what a box set is going to look like from Warner Brothers. This exact one. They're going to repurpose it and put 4K on there and have these as 4K discs. So that's my guess. Now, what I would like, if Warner Brothers is listening to this, is to replicate the original 1999 DVD box set, a gorgeous box set with individual cases for all films of 1 through New Nightmare. But here's the difference I want to say. Don't disregard the remake. I want to have a real good, complete collection for the Elm Street films, and that includes the 2010 remake. We already heard rumblings and rumors that they were going to put the remake out on 4K, and some people even thought that, oh my god, are they going to put this out before the original? That was a rumor. People were speculating that. We were hearing about that, and there was even some people saying at the Warner Brothers gift shop at the headquarters or wherever that apparently there was a bunch of stock of the remake out there that they were just putting in the front to sell at these gift shops or whatever, and I was like, oh man, that's interesting. But I would love to replicate the original style box set with the individual cases. And I do want a 4K of Freddy vs. Jason. I think Warner Brothers should probably just go ahead and do that. And then throw in the remake as well. Just put them all out. But part of me thinks that they're not going to want to do Freddy vs. Jason in 4K. If not, give that to Arrow maybe. They did a great job with the 2009 Friday the 13th remake. But I don't know, guys. I think we need to temper expectations. I think most of you are tempering your expectations, quite honestly. There's a lot of excitement for the Elm Street 4K, but overall, I think people are... The problem is, people are getting so accustomed to how well the boutique labels are doing packaging and their presentation of these things, that when the studios do these movies that are flagship horror films, it's just not good enough for a lot of us. And look, I get that. I really do get that. I also don't want to lose sight of, okay, how good does the movie look and all that. That's got to be important. And hopefully that's going to be the case with this 4K. So what I think is going to happen, guys, is they're going to stagger the 4Ks out in double packs, 2 and 3, then 3 and 4, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, and then they'll put New Nightmare out separately. And then they'll do a box set just like this, or they may skip that, and they're going to put out a 4K box set like this. And this video is going to be so hysterical if it happens, and it's this exact one, and I called it. There's a chance I'm right on this, and I don't know. I don't hate this, but it's going to be interesting, guys. So that's what I think the reality is going to be. And whether there's any movies uncut, I'm going to assume that they're not going to be. I'm just going to be honest. But part of me also thinks that there is a part of me that thinks it could happen because they are putting the original out as uncut. So I don't know, guys. We'll see what happens, but I wanted to talk about this and give you my thoughts overall on what I think the future is going to look like for Elm Street. Let me know what you guys want to happen and what you think is going to happen. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but look, let's get ready for part 1. It's going to be exciting to watch this movie on 4K, uncut at that, with great special features, hopefully. And we'll see what happens, guys. So for now, this is your old pal CHH saying that's my thoughts on the 4K releases of the Elm Street sequels going forward. And we'll see what I was right about with this video. Hopefully not as much as I'd like to be. But if I had to guess, this is my thoughts on it, guys. So thank you for watching. This is your old pal CHH, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.